Hello guys, welcome to our channel. My name is Eden. I'm going to be taking you through an introduction to real estate. Many people are very much interested in doing real estate. Many people are keen to invest in real estate. But the most important thing before you start anything is information. It is not the doing itself. It's not the exercise that you're going to do which is important. What you are going to do and how you're going to do it and for who. That is very, very important. There's so many people who have invested a lot of money in real estate, but it turned out that there was no market for the real estate. Many people invested a lot of money in real estate and it turned out not to have the returns that they expected. So in this video, we're going to be covering about 8 types of real estate. And from there, you should be able to conclude which type is best for you. And you should also be able to pick which one is best for your location. Remember, it's not just what you want, but it's also what the market wants. The location itself dictates as to what you can do in that area. Right. So first of all, we need to understand that real estate is a very diverse field. There's a lot of things that you can talk about in real estate. There's a lot of types of investments you can do in real estate. But the first one that we're going to be talking about here is residential. That's the most common one. Every one of us lives in a house. Whether you own the house or you rent the house, that house has to belong to someone, right? If you're renting it, it means someone collects rent from you every month. Now, what is residential? This is a place where people can just stay. On average, we can just say maybe one family, okay? Right, so you have a family that is staying there. They pay rent to an owner, right? And this is usually maybe a standalone house and a cottage maybe behind the main house, right? You usually get to see that the amount paid for rent every month depends on the location. In cities, the rents are very high, right? In rural and small towns, the rents are also low. But at the same time, the cost of constructing these projects depends also on the location. Rural areas are cheaper, small towns are cheaper than big cities because buying the land itself is another exercise that you should consider in the whole cost of building your project. So, some people on the residential part, they have strategized to look for markets close to busy areas or where there's high demand, like universities, colleges, next to big companies where they can easily make money. You can easily make a lot of money out of one house if you put in students. So that's another strategy that you can use if you look at residential, right? So by residential, like I said, we're talking about a standalone house, maybe with a cottage. The second one is a multifamily unit. The multifamily unit is one where you have a number of families that can stay in the same building. Not necessarily in the same house, but you can have one family on the ground floor, another family on the first floor, and another one on the second. Or it can be one building, all families staying in different units, all on the ground floor without vertical expansion. The good thing about that kind of arrangement is that you easily maximize every square meter of land that you have available, and you easily make money out of that because you have more units. But it also requires a more complicated way of management and higher cost of repair, and it might be difficult dealing with the different people because it's a multi-family unit that you're talking about. And the construction itself is also more expensive. But if money is not a problem, a multi-family unit is much more profitable given that land will be available. The third one that we're going to be talking about is retail. By retail, we simply mean to say there is space for a business that wants to operate there, right? That business could be a small bakery, it could be a restaurant, it could be a salon, it could be a small coffee shop, right? Or it could be a supermarket. They are selling their goods or services at the corner of the street or somewhere. As an investor, if you own this kind of property, you will make money from people that rent your shop or your building. All right. But these usually also are subject to municipal bylaws, a lot of attention. It draws a lot of attention from the municipality as well. So you need to follow strict regulations as opposed to residential, right? But retail can be a very small space, but it will fetch a lot of money. I think if you have seen in big cities that a very small office can easily fetch a few $100s, whereas a house, a very big house, may not even give you those hundreds. Okay, so it's all about purpose for which the property is developed. Another thing is number 4, office. Office space is now very much on demand. Those people who want to have their small business, those people who want to operate in town, those people who have got a non-governmental organization, they all need offices. So an office will provide space for them to operate from. Any serious business, whether you're providing a service or you're selling goods, you need a known address where people can find you. Although you might have a store online, but you need an address that people can easily locate and find you. That is why it's important. Now, that means that people who have got properties in the office, in other words, who can let out offices for rent, those people can easily make money, especially if your offices are just in the CBD or just on the periphery of the CBD, just on the outskirts. If you look at suburbs like Eastleigh, if you're in Harare, or suburbs if you're in Bulawayo, those are places where people are making a lot of money because the city is probably now expanding into those nearby suburbs. So you easily make a lot of money because some companies now prefer a place where there is peace, where there is no congestion, where there are no vendors and workers everywhere. So it might be a good investment to offer office space in those areas. Many people in those suburbs have converted their homes into offices. Some have even gone as far as selling those buildings. So an office can be an option. Another type of real estate that you can invest in is hospitality. Right? Hospitality nowadays has got a number of meanings, right? You can come up with a lodge, bed and breakfast. You can come up with a hotel of some sort. You can come up with what we now call Airbnb. All those are ways of investing in real estate. People come and book and sleep overnight. People come and book and spend a week or spend a month while they are on vacation or there's a workshop somewhere. But the type of booking is also going to be influenced by the activities in that area. For someone who is in a resort town, chances are that you make a lot of money because there's traffic of tourists coming in and out and going in and out of the city or town, right? But for someone who is in a rural area where there is no natural attraction or some other resort closed, might not actually be a good idea, right? So hospitality can be another area. The option that I was talking about, which is Airbnb. Airbnb is whereby you just register your property. It can be a house, a normal house. You register it on Airbnb as a place to let out. You can live in your house until a day someone decides to book your house for a weekend or a week. You can go back to your parents' house. You can go to your friend's house and leave these guys to pay for that one. You can make more money than someone who rents out his house the whole month, long-term tenants. Those are all options in the hospitality industry. We know that those are now subject to certain regulations by the tourism authorities, but as long as you comply with those, you shouldn't have any problem. Very worthwhile investment. Right. Another option if you are going to be investing is in the industrial space. Companies are looking for bigger warehouses where they can put their goods, bigger spaces where they can do manufacturing, bigger spaces where they can do packaging and processing. If you build a warehouse, just leave it. One day it will be rented by a company. If you build a workshop and leave it there, one day it will be rented by a company. And those have got high returns most of the time because the space is much bigger, right? And if you're charging, usually you charge per square meter of space occupied. And the guys that rent there normally are big companies that do not have a problem with paying a lot of money for rent, as opposed to residential where there's a restriction in terms of how much people pay in a certain area given time. You can't really go beyond a certain limit in a certain area. Okay? You have to play by the rules set by others in that area. That's where the challenge is with residential. But with industrial and commercial, you'll find it very easy that you can easily dictate your own terms because the competition is very limited. Okay? Another type, the seventh one, is mixed use type. The mixed use type, this is a building which is generally designed as for general purpose use. Maybe not general purpose, but mixed use, right? When we say mixed use, we simply mean to say you might find a grocery store on the ground floor and a residential apartment on the first floor. You might find a residential, a salon on the ground floor and a gym upstairs. Those are mixed use types of buildings. So that means you don't necessarily have to depend on one type of tenant or one type of market. You might rent out popular supermarket chain on the ground floor and have residential apartments upstairs. People easily going up and down to the supermarket, and that becomes convenient, especially for people who are professionals who don't have time to go somewhere further to look for the services that they want and goods that they want. So it could be another option. Those require a big investment upfront if you have the money. The eighth and the last one is land. All these are the buildings that I've been talking about. They are all built on land. But here we are saying land itself, without developing any, land can be a good investment depending on where you buy it, depending on who you sell to. In major cities, land is very expensive. It gains value very fast. You buy a piece of land now, 2 years down the line, it could double because there is high demand. The same land, you can decide to say, okay, I don't want to build a house. Let me build a solar farm on that piece of land and supply the whole neighborhood with power. Have an agreement with the local utility whereby I can provide power as an independent power producer. That's another option. You have invested in your land, put a project that generates income. Depending on how big it is, the land can also be used. You can put chickens, you can do vegetables and make money out of it, right? But obviously that's gonna depend on how much money and what you intend to do with the land. And we also need to analyze that if you decide to say, let me buy land now and then do something after 5 years, there's the opportunity cost of the time that you lose in those 5 years. And remember, it's always been said that time is money. If you're losing time, you're losing money. So I would normally advise people that start with as little as you can, as small as you can. If you can afford a residential place in a high density suburb right now, start there. Get that $60, get that $50 per room. After a few years, when you're more financially stable, you might then build another house or buy another house in a medium density or low density area where you can easily charge $100 or $150 per room. And then with time, you can end up then buying a complex in town or a shopping mall or developing a shopping center or a store in the CBD. The reason is we should always understand that there's a risk. There's a risk in any kind of investment, especially with real estate, right? The risk is not that you can completely lose your property, but the risk is that you might not get what you were bargaining for of certain dynamics in the economy because of certain changes in the policies of the government. So, what are you going to invest in? Comment down below, make suggestions, share your wisdom. I'll be very glad to read each and every one comment that comes from you. Thank you and bye-bye.